My name is Emily Cullen, and I'm the Mescal UL50 Poet in Residence at the University of Limerick's Creative Writing programme. Together with students from the MA in Creative Writing, we're delighted to bring you a series of Espresso Shots of Thought, a project we began last year to explore poetry and poetic process. What inspired me to devise these short segments was a quote by British Indian poet Daljit Nagra, who said that poetry is an espresso shot of thought. So we invite you to relax and enjoy an insightful jolt of poetry from the University of Limerick.
Hello everyone, my name is Maxime Heim, a poet and writer from Luxembourg, and in today's episode of An Espresso Shot of Thought, I would like to talk to you about one of my favorite poetic techniques, the use of repetition. In any kind of writing, repetition can assist the writer in conveying the fundamental message they want the reader to take away from their piece, as well as helping to guide their reading. In poetry, where pieces tend to be shorter than in prose, repetitions are usually more saturated. The shorter the piece, the closer the repetition, the more weight they will carry if executed well. In his poem, Bluebird, Charles Bukowski talks about a bluebird that lives inside his heart. Though the bird is weakened by alcohol and cigarettes, at night, when no one is around to see it, the bird is allowed to escape its confinement and sing. The bird represents the narrator's softer emotions, those he deems cannot be shown to others, feeding into the gender stereotype which holds that men should not show vulnerability. In the poem, Bukowski repeats the following two verses. There is a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out. The poem's opening line is repeated a few verses later, then also opens the second stanza and finally appears one last time around the middle of the second stanza. The repetition acts as a sort of refrain and sets the tone of the poem. Right from the first line, we as readers read the repetition and know that the poem will use the extended metaphor throughout the entire piece. In addition, the repetition sets a successful rhythm for the poem. Through it, musicality is created, which facilitates the reading and dictates where the emphasis should lie, inevitably displaying what the author wants to express. I believe this to be a fantastic technique, as repetition constitutes a powerful tool in any poet's arsenal. Well-placed reiterations of specific words, verses, or even stanzas allow for potential rhythm and stresses, opening up accessible ways for the reader to enter into the poem's shape and meaning. Repetitions also facilitate the creation of pattern in a piece, often bypassing our cognitive brains to reach our unconscious minds. For instance, in our example, Bukowski mentions that the bluebird inside his heart wants to get out, but that the narrator is too tough for him. The repetition drives home the idea that the bluebird will never escape, as subjecting his vulnerability to the world might result in the narrator getting hurt, a scenario which he will avoid at any cost. This pattern is broken, however, in the poem's end, when the bird is allowed to leave, even if only for a short duration. Fracturing the pattern gives further meaning to the poem and elevates contrast. Although a powerful tool, repetitions may act as a double-edged sword, where on the one hand, the poet can use repetitions to steer the reader through a poem. Overindulging in repetition easily becomes distasteful and tedious, pulling us out of the imaginative space we want to be in when entering into someone's writing. From the position of writer, this can in most cases be avoided, or at the very least mitigated. Reading pieces out loud will not only help the writer to understand their own work more deeply, but it will also permit them to take a step back from the poem and hear it from a more objective outside voice. Instinctively, the author will also accentuate the parts they want to resonate most clearly, showing where they might be overdoing certain poetic techniques, such as weaving in repetition. While the inner voice might not easily hear the overdone repetition, the ear will ultimately be the best guide, provided the writer is willing to listen closely for imperfections. In conclusion, though it is easy to be overindulgent in repetitions, they represent a great device that should not be underestimated. The skillful use of repetition helps both reader and writer to find rhythm, shape, and meaning, expanding a poem's potential for additional layers and techniques. This has been an Espresso Shot of Thought. My name is Maxime Heim, and I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye.